Hey nerds, Todd Simmons coming back at you with a little more Toddomation. So I got a couple of video requests from my CodeSpaces labs on how to run your own Arista lab inside CodeSpaces, where individuals were asking specifically, hey, what if we don't have CodeSpaces accounts that allow us to use more CPU and RAM based on the number of devices that we want to run? Is there another way that we can do it? I also got some questions saying, hey, this is great when we've got access to the internet or high-speed access to the internet, but what if we don't? What if we're in a place that doesn't have great internet? And the answer to both questions is, yeah, there's certainly different ways to do it. One of the ways that you can do it is just run it on your own device. Now, I'm going to show you from a Mac, but it works very, very similar from a Windows machine. The reason being is we're going to create a VM, and we're going to run the VM on our actual device and use ContainerLab inside that VM. Now, ContainerLab just runs in Linux. So anywhere that we can run Linux, we can do this. Now, specifically, I'm going to use a program called OrbStack here, and OrbStack is going to allow us to very easily create that VM. The great thing about OrbStack is if you're using this on your personal device or it's a personal account, it's always free. They're not going to charge you for any of the extra features. So that's why I'm using OrbStack. It's also really light, makes it very, very easy to use. So it's kind of the direction that we're going to go with this video. So first thing, if you've noticed, I've already got the download OrbStack open. It's real simple. Just go and I'll post this link inside the video, but it's orbstack.dev and download. It's automatically going to recognize whatever operating system that you have. Obviously, it noticed that I have a Macintosh, so it gave me two options for Apple Silicon or Intel Silicon. To make sure that you know what the difference is, we want to just click on the Apple up here and about this Mac. And when you do that, it's going to tell you your chip right here, right? So I obviously have the Apple M4 Max, and I have 64 gigabytes of RAM that we're going to use. So I would click this download Apple Silicon, and there it goes. It's going to download it for me. It's going to put it in my downloads folder. And then from the downloads folder, then we can double click it. So opening up the folder, I got an OrbStack download folder that I put it in. When I double click on it, it's going to start the install. And the install for this is very simple. You just drag the OrbStack into your applications folder, and it's going to install it for you. At that point, we can close this window. I'm going to close this window, and we can go to Launchpad. And from Launchpad, you'll see I now have the OrbStack icon here. So at this point, I'm going to open OrbStack, and I'm going to allow it, just security precautions here. And notice that there's no machines. Now, the very first time that you load this, it might pop up with a window and ask you to create a machine from default. If it does that, just choose Linux. Okay. Now, I did uninstall my OrbStack, but it doesn't give me that option the very first time again when I reinstall it. So like I said, if you get that, go ahead and just click Linux, because that's what we're going to install. Excuse me. So from here, we're going to go new machines. Okay. And we do that, it's immediately going to start. Now, I'm going to change this from Ubuntu to ContainerLab. And I'm also going to change the distribution. I'm not going to go with Ubuntu. I'm going to go with the Debian version. You can use any one that you want, but for this video, I will use the Debian. I'm going to go with version 13, which is Trixie. And my architecture is going to be ARM because I've got the Apple module 64. It should recognize that for you, whether you're on a Mac, Windows, Linux. That doesn't really matter at this point. And then I'm going to create it. And it's automatically going to create it, and it's automatically going to start it up for me. Now, I'm going to stop it as soon as it starts because there's a couple of things that I want to make sure that you have on your system. So I can tell that it's running because my only option here is stop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click this stop, and it's going to stop the ContainerLab. Now, if you're already using OrbStack, it's possible you have a bunch of Linux machines already in here. If you do, I would like you to make sure that this particular version or this ContainerLab, at least for now while you're doing it, is your default. And how do we make sure it's your default? Well, we just right click on it with the right mouse button and we click on Make Default. Now, because I only have one here, it's going to be my default, okay? But I don't want it running quite yet because there's a couple of settings that you want to look at, and these settings are going to be very important as you're setting up your lab. most specifically the memory. So there's two ways that you can get to the settings. You can either go to the OrbStack and click on the settings here, or if you like the command line, you can just do the command and the comma, and it's going to bring up those settings for you. Now, the area that we want to be at is the system settings. And the reason that we want to be here is for the memory. By default, okay, when you set this, it's going to set the memory limit depending on how much you have. It might be at 16, it might be at 8. It really depends on how much memory you have. And this is really important because the amount of memory that you're going to use inside the VM is going to show how many devices you can actually be running. So that when you're running the CEOS, typically, they want 2 gigs of RAM per device. There is a way around that. I'm going to set my memory limit a little bit higher for this video just because I want things to run very, very, very fast inside the video so it's not laggy. So I'm going to set mine to 32. Now, if you don't have that much RAM, right, set it to at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. If it won't let you set it to 8, this might not be a great option for you. And I just want to be honest with you because you're probably going to have problems. You're going to need memory to run a VM. And if you don't have a lot of memory, it's going to be tough to run a virtual machine on your device. Okay. If you can, I would recommend running it with at least 24. But like I said, you can run it with 8. And I'm going to teach you how to make some adjustments to see how many devices you can actually run. So that's going to set the system up at this particular point. So I can close this particular window. Actually, I don't want to close the window until I hit apply and reset down here. So we go with the apply and reset. Okay. I can now close the settings. It says systems, but these are the actual settings for it. We apply and it restarts. We come back to OrbStack here. Now we can actually run the VM. So when I click on it, you can see it's going to run pretty quick. I've got 32 gigs of RAM that it's able to use, but it doesn't really show you too much at this particular point. So the next step that we're going to do is you see these tabs up here across the top, and I'm going to drop my web page back here just to eliminate any confusion. So what we want to do is we want to install ContainerLab inside this VM. And the easiest way to do it is just to click on this terminal right here. Okay. So when I click on terminal, as you can see, it's already pulled my username. Okay. And it's at ContainerLab. And the reason it says at ContainerLab is because that's the name of the Linux VM that I created. Okay. So there's a particular command that we're going to run here. And the command can actually be found on the ContainerLab installation page, at which I'm going to link for you. And it's actually, let me go ahead and pull it up just in case anybody wants to see it. So we'll bring this window back up. I'll go back to it. And this is the installation page, right? Just containerlab.dev/install. And the command that I'm going to get is this install command right here. And it's just a curl command, right? So a curl command is just a way to get something from the internet or from a web page or device that's actually going to install it. So as you can see, I'm just going to click this copy to clipboard. It's literally that simple. I'm going to minimize this web page. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paste it, the exact command, and then I'm going to run it. And there it goes. Don't worry about that first red thing that says failed to start the SSH. The actual SSH daemon wasn't starting yet, but the ContainerLab installation is going to do all of that for you. So now that it's running, if you have any questions, if it doesn't work exactly right for you, maybe jump back into that ContainerLab installation page that I showed you and see if any of the issues that they posted there can help you out. Now, it doesn't take very long to install it. As you can see, mine's done. It throws some weird characters at the end, no big deal. Just hit enter, 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 and it comes back and we're at our prompt. So there's 2 things that we want to do at this particular point just to make sure that everything did get installed. So the first thing we want to check is to make sure that there's a version of ContainerLab installed. Now, the ContainerLab program by default is just CLab, and that's the executable that we're going to be using. So anytime you type CLab, that's short for ContainerLab. If you were watching the videos that I did on GitHub Codespaces, I actually created a bash script that did all that for you. So you probably never typed the CLab. What we want to do here is just type CLab version. And this is just going to verify that it's installed. And it'll pop up and you can see, okay, obviously ContainerLab's installed, because when I typed CLab space version by itself, it gave me the version. The version was 0.71.1. The other thing that we want to type, just to make sure everything installed correctly, is ContainerLab, just like it did inside GitHub Codespaces, is going to be using Docker images. So we want to make sure that Docker was installed, and we can do Docker -- version or -v, and we want to make sure that it was installed. And as we can see right here, the Docker version was installed. So at this point, your ContainerLab is up and running inside your OrbStack VM. So that's the first part of this new playlist. So at this point, make sure all of that's working for you. If you have any questions, if you have any problems, go ahead and send me a message in the comments, and I will respond to you pretty quickly on those if you did have any issues. The next lab, we're going to keep going. In the next video, I should say, we're going to keep going. And this is how we're actually going to set VS Code up to allow our Mac inside VS Code to work directly with this VM, so we don't have to be in this terminal window here. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully things are working for you, and that you're going to go ahead and start on the next video to keep things going. Until then, we'll talk to you later, nerds. Bye.